What's up, everybody? Welcome back to more Low, Less Talk. Finally got this episode out. We've been really busy at work. I said this last time, and so that very much limits the amount of time that I have to work on this thing. But here we go. We got, finally, lower bag mounts. These are welded in fully. You can see the marks in it. And I'm calling these things spring pockets, even though, maybe they're air springs. So finally got those in. Those are just tack welded. Still got to weld those in, so you won't see that in this episode. And then other than that, man, geez, I feel like that might have been all I did in this whole time, but I'm sure there's other stuff. God dang, dude, this is so much work getting those things in there. So yeah, I had to cut these out bigger inside the body. So the body had to get cut bigger so I'd have room to work and stuff. And you always need, a half an inch or so anyway between the frame portion and the body. I got way more than that now, but I just want to give myself plenty of room. That's it, y'all. I can't really, geez, dude, I feel like I did so much work, but that's all that I can think that I actually did was get these things in here. So, but there was a lot of work getting those in. So anyway, you're gonna see that in this video. If you like this kind of stuff, like, subscribe, click the notification bell, all the things, and we'll check you out on the next one after you get done watching this. Bye-bye. Hey, what's up, everybody? We're back at it. All right, when I left off last week, we cut out some rear fender wells, and I was going to patch them up today. I got some material to do that, but I changed my mind. I think I'm going to get back on the airbags. And I also said last video that I wasn't going to put them here, and I've changed my mind. I am going to put them back there again. But I need to get this axle out of the way. I got to do some work on it, and I'll show you what that is. Let me see if I can get a light down here. All right, if you look down there, you'll see my bar is hitting the tabs that I put in on one side. Hopefully you can get that from that angle. So I'm going to pull this axle out, and I've already marked them, so I'm going to have to cut those things out after they've been fully welded in, and I'm going to re-weld them to my new marked spots so that it doesn't hit. So that's the first thing I'm going to do when I pull this axle out. Also, at that point, I'll be ready to weld the tops of the, the bottom mounts for the airbags. So these pieces right here, and I can weld that on. And then also these upper bag mounts, I need to make a way to mount these here and space them up high enough to where the airbag can sit underneath it, where it's got room for the airbag. Because if I weld it flat like they were before, you can see the circular part that I cut out. If I weld it there, you're going to have the thickness of the bag pushing the axle back down, and then the car won't go as low as it should. So what I'm going to do there to space that is, I've got this little fancy idea. Take an air tank and cut it around here, however long that I need it. I'm going to cut the bottom out and weld my new upper mount to that. Then I'll take that whole piece as an assembly and weld it into the car. So that's my plan for this episode. I don't have a whole lot of time, so wish me luck. All right, in order to pull the back axle, first thing I got to do is disconnect the drive shaft. Now, I've never done this before, but apparently it's super easy. Come here, and we got 4 bolts all the way around. Disconnect those bolts. The drive shaft will come off apparently. So I'm going to find out right now. All right, drive shaft is disconnected. I still have, it's still like literally connected. I'm assuming there's some kind of an alignment, something or other in there. So that's why it hasn't just dropped down. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the rest of this stuff, holding this axle on, and I imagine I'll just be able to pull it right off. I guess we're gonna find out. Can you tell I've never done this before? All right, let's get to it. Hey, we have separation. All right. Also, I forgot to tell you that I disconnected the park and brake cables as well. I don't think I covered that part of it. So, all right, now we're ready to move this axle out of the way so that I can fix some stuff on the axle, and also that will give me access to these, I guess I'm going to call them airbag perches. Instead of spring perches, where I'll be able to access this from underneath, and I'll be able to weld it and everything. And there we go. Okay, so I got the axle out, and you'll notice we are missing a tab. Right? So reason why is because this tab was in a little bit. I'm actually going to turn it out just a little bit, and then it won't be hitting the bar anymore. But what you'll also notice is that I've drawn a couple of lines on here. Now this is going to be the shape of all 4 of these tabs. My new one's I'm just gonna straight up cut it like this, and these I'm gonna cut out like this after they're already on here. Just kind of streamlining the shape, and just making it look overall a lot better. I think too, like if you can imagine, let's see. So if you can imagine these being in here like this, right? Going straight up and down is no problem. Like from this direction, going straight up and down is no problem. But what if you start articulating a little bit? You get on a little bit of a lean. Well, these things are gonna bend a little bit. And what I'm afraid of is they'll hit the ends over here. But if I cut them way in right here, I don't think they're ever gonna hit anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut all 4 of them that same way. And again, I'm just gonna chop the backs of these off too, because it's unnecessary. And you know, listen, more weight you chop off, that's all unsprung weight. So I'm gonna make the rear axle lighter and, you know, hopefully react better with bumps and whatever else there is. So, but this bracket I cut off is done for. So again, this is my template for my new bracket. So I'm just going to cut this out of some quarter and get it welded back on here so that they all are on here again, and then I can get to, you know, finish welding like all inside here. They're only welded on one side, right? That's all I could access from when it was on the car. So I'm going to go ahead and weld in here. This I couldn't get in there very well. I tried my best, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now that I got it off. And after that, I'm going to start. Let's see. I guess I can mount the bags on the lower bag mounts on here. We're gonna take another look and see if I want to do the top ones first or the bottom ones. I don't really know yet, so we'll check it out. All right, guys, it's a new day. I don't remember exactly where I left off yesterday, so sorry if some of this is redundant. But all right, I've pulled the axle out, and I've taken these 2 bars, these mounting tabs off, because they were a little crooked like that. So anyway, I'm making new ones because the old ones are ruined now that I've cut them off. So we're gonna make some. And also, if you look over here, I reshaped them a little bit. I'll get into that in a little bit, but reshaped them to try to reduce some weight and stuff like that. So anyway, right now, I've got the new tabs cut or drawn right here, so I'm gonna go ahead and get them cut out. Okay, battery died in the camera, again as usual. So let me show you what I've gotten done. Got these brackets made. This is just in here to space it out. Anyway, I just got them tacked, right? And that's it. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and weld on both sides all of these. Now these are already welded on this side, so I just have to weld on this side and that'll be done. And then I got to put the axle back in the car because, man, it's axles are pretty heavy. So anyway, trying to huff that in there by myself is not easy, but I get it. And then after that, then we're going to be finally ready to start mounting these upper and lower bag mounts. So let's just get to it. those ain't pretty, but they will do. I like my original ones better when I had less access and a car in my way. Jeez, dude. Who the heck gets worse when they have better access? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go grab some lunch, and when I get back, I'm gonna do some, I gotta chop the tops of these off just a little bit. So you see I got a line drawn right there and a line drawn right here. So I'm gonna chop those off a little bit. They're just a little bit too long. And then I gotta huff this axle back in the car again, and then I'll be ready to start these bag mounts. Hello everybody. All right, this is where we're at. I got the whole axle out of here, and this white circle I've drawn is what I have to cut out for my spring pocket. This is just a piece of sheet metal that I have up here to keep sparks from flying in the trunk. I have done the same thing on the other side as far as drawing the line. So I've got to decide what the best route is to get this cut. Easier would be the plasma, but then you'll end up with chunky bits like this that's got to get cleaned up. So I'm going to try the cutoff wheel first. We'll see how that goes. What's up everybody? It's about a week later and you just saw me cut through a carbon dioxide tank. It's 1/4 inch thick, but apparently on the bottom it's more like a 1/2 inch thick, and I didn't know that. So you saw me try to, work my way through it. On the side, it cut just fine, but then on the bottom, the cutter that I have is not designed to cut that kind of thickness. So there I was doing it anyway. I had to figure out a way to do it, and I think what worked the best, a couple of things. I ground down to the metal so I could get a better contact for the ground, and then also I cut a slice in the metal, the path that I wanted to cut with the disc, cutting disc, and I think maybe just the cutting it a little bit deeper into it kind of thinned out the metal a little bit, and maybe that kind of helped in cutting it. But I think probably the thing that helped the most was cutting that, or sanding that paint down and getting a better ground. So anyway, that thing is incredibly hot. It's almost glowing red hot. So I got to sit here and let this sit. But I think that I'm gonna end up. Let's see. So this is upside down right now, but all right, here's my top bag mount, and this is gonna sit inside there. It's so friggin' hot. Like, I'm not even gonna touch it right now, but anyway, this is gonna sit inside there. We're gonna flip it over and weld it, and then we'll get to the other side, which I will make the same thing out of this part of the tank. So I'm gonna have to chop this out. Hopefully it won't be as thick, but who knows, man, maybe it will be. And I'm gonna have to do some work to kind of shape it to get this same rounded shape, because obviously the curve isn't as dramatic here. So I'm gonna have to work that out. And basically, I think after I get this, once this cools off, I'm gonna go ahead and sand these edges smooth with a flap disc, and get it looking kind of presentable on the inside too. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get to work on this one. But yeah, look at this thing, man. This is probably it's not melting my shoe just that quick, but I wanted to cut this out so that I could take this and put on top of here. But this thing's so hard to cut and it's so thick that I don't think I'll have that option. So I think what I'll do is just make something out of paper. Yeah, that's what I always do, make patterns out of paper. So that's what I'm doing. Hello, it's a new day, and I am going to get to sanding on the inside of this that I plasma cut. Look how thick that is, man. This is, I guess it's probably 1/2 inch thick right here. It's honestly too thick, but I'll have to make it work, man. So let's get on it. All right, everybody, it's a new day. I have taken the bottom of the carbon dioxide bottle, chopped it up so that I can mount my upper bag mount. And this is kind of the way it's going to look. If you notice, they're essentially like you see shock mounts in the front underneath the hood on like a unibody car. And that's essentially what they are. And I'm going to weld them in to the frame right under there on each side. And that's how the plan is. Now, I also you saw me make this little fake airbag, fully collapsed airbag. But I think what I'm going to do instead is use my actual bag brackets that I'm actually going to be using. So there's my lower, there's my upper, and so what I need to do though is this has a center point and this does not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay one on top of the other and tack weld a couple of spots just on each side so they don't move, and I'm going to drill a hole right through here and into the top bag mount, and I'm going to do the same thing there. The reason why I want to do that is because I'm going to make a new one of these, essentially little fake airbags, but instead of two all threads, I'm going to have one just going through the center, and that's going to keep it spaced up and everything the way I need it. So I get on that right now before I get to welding this thing inside of this little pocket. So there we go. All right, nice little hole right through them both. Perfectly even with each other. Let's get these tack welds ground off. Alright guys, so here's where I'm at. I got my little shock tower, if you want to call it a shock tower, and I'm going to weld this top plate into here. Alright, but before I can do that, I need to get inside here and clean all of this out. It's really rusty. I'm trying to get it in the light for you. It's really rusty and stuff, and kind of rough from the plasma cutter, leaving like bits of metal in there. I don't want the airbag to sort of chafe on that stuff, so I'm going to clean out the inside of this barrel here, and also I'll probably go ahead and strip off some of this paint and get back to raw metal on the whole thing. And this part right here, we're going to end up modifying this later, I'm sure. We're probably going to have to shrink cut this down a little bit more, so I'm not going to worry too much about making that look pretty, unless I don't need to cut it down, and then I'll just, you know, smooth it out and make it look better, and you know, pride in your work kind of thing, even though that's never going to get shown. So let's get to work. Okay, so, whew. All right, so now the plan is I'm gonna bust these apart, and I'm just gonna take these top mounts here, well, just one of them, and I'm gonna weld it to the top of this. Before I do that though, I gotta cut a groove in this thing, cut a little angle in it, so the weld can penetrate all the way through. Okay, that's gonna be it for today. Look real close here. This thing is hot, hot. I can feel all that heat coming off of that thing. But, looks like some good welds, if I do say so myself. I'm gonna have to look on the inside here. See, some of the welds came through. So I have to sand that so the bag doesn't chafe on it over time. But other than that, that's gonna be it for the day. And I'm gonna go ahead and get in here next time, and we're gonna work on this piece. This is gonna be the same as that, but I do have some extra work to do to this too. Once I get this hole cut for the upper bag mount, I'm gonna need to, I guess I'm gonna cut and heat and do all whatever I gotta do to bend these ends down so they have a more tighter curve than this little gentle sort of round bend right here. So anyway, that's going to require some more work, and after that, man, I'll be pretty excited at that point. Then we'll be ready to mount these things in the car right back here, which I think I've already shown you guys, but there's a little bit of work a little prep work I got to do before I can get those in, but that stuff won't take very long, so I'm excited. I'll see you guys the next day I'm back, whatever day that is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is a new day, and we are back to working on little air spring cups. I don't know what you want to call these things. Well, anyway, what I got to do now is I got to cut the top of this off, right? And then this curve is not nearly as sharp a curve as this one. So I'm going to chop this, and then I'm going to end up bending this down a little bit to where the curves match. So just so it'll look better. Honestly, this is all getting hid behind sheet metal, so you'll never see it except for just in this video. But I don't know, you want to make it look good if you can. Now hopefully this is not super duper thick like this was. This was like 1/2 inch. And my plasma cutter is not strong enough to cut through that. So hopefully this stays 1/4 inch, and but ultimately we're going to see right now. What I also saw helped is if I score it with the cutoff wheel, score it right there where I want to go. I think it probably helps conduct better or something, I don't know. And it also provides a little channel for the sparks to go down. So I guess it kind of heats it up a little better right there. I don't know. I don't really know what the science is behind it, but I noticed it seems like it works. So anyway, I'm going to get to it. Okay, well, no such luck. It looks like we're probably ½ inch all the way around, but this side cut a lot faster than this side, and I think it's mainly because I just had practice on this side. I'd be honest with you. I think that's all it is. But anyway, now we've got them side by side, and we can see the curve on this is not as good, as steep as the curve on this. So I think right around here, I don't want to touch it because it's really hot, but right around here and up is where I'm going to start to bend it. All right, back from lunch. Trying to figure out my plan of attack here. So I've decided this is the line where I want to start bending it. And get it better. Yeah, it's a little brighter so you can see it a little bit better. But anyway, I want to start bending it around here, and as I bend it, you know, everything's going to get closer together, so I got to kind of cut little pie shapes out of it. It probably should technically have little curves, but I'm not too worried about that. The weld will fill that in. But anyway, I think I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to cut just a few of these out and then try it and see where that goes. Now, this stuff is so thick, I don't know if I'm going to get anywhere with it. To be honest with you, I'm kind of worried about it. But let's give it a shot. Okay, so got kind of these little barb looking things, and I think this is pretty close to the curve that I want. I think what I'm going to do is take a cardboard template. I'm just going to cut this curve out of the cardboard template, and that way I'll be able to kind of push it up against here and be able to tell if it's accurate or not. And then I'm going to do this all the way around. Now obviously this gap is way too big, so I'm glad I didn't go ahead and cut all of these. So I'm going to end up having to fill this gap with these pieces that I cut out. And that ought to be fine. But I think I'm going to start by just cutting a small little teeny tiny pie out of this instead of such a wide one. And I'll do the next couple that way and see how that goes. Okay, so what I've discovered is I can cut a small relief cut, right? So now this gap is so much better than this gap, right? So I can cut a small relief cut, and I'll start to bend it down here. And that's where you saw me just using the vice grips, right? The vice grips down here, and then I got to use a pry bar to get some leverage. But I can bend it just a little bit right here, and then I want to bend it again kind of harsh right here. So I cut a little slice in it, and that's so weak that I can just use my hands and just the vice grips just for that, to bend that. And that's probably going to do it. Normally I would probably want to cut it once more up here and bend them flat, but I think, by the time I get my plate on here, I'm just going to end up cutting it right there anyway. So I think that's going to do it. Those two cuts, well, one cut I guess, but those two bends. So a bend here, another bend here with a cut, and I think that's going to do it. I got a really good gap here, the weld will penetrate really well. And I think I just got to do that, Jesus, a lot more times. Man, I wish this wasn't half inch. This would go so much faster, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm trying to do something cool with a, what was this called? A carbon dioxide tank, I guess? Carbon dioxide tank? Try to do something cool with that and make it happen. Probably it might have been easier just to take the tube portion, chop that in half, and then just bend this because it's only 1/4 inch. Probably would have been a whole lot easier, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, give me about 500 years and let me get these cut and bent, and I'll see you back here. Okay, so you just saw me cut and bend and cut some more on this thing. And the whole idea, where's it at? Oh. The whole idea is to try to match this radius, or this curve, whatever. All right. Pretty darn close. We'll just do that all the way around, right? And then so this curve will match this curve, and then once I get this thing ground down and everything, this is going to drop right in just the same as this one did, and we're going to weld it right in. Then I'll have two matching shock tower things. All right, so you just saw where I cut and ground and heated and bent and did all kinds of stuff to try to match this curve right here, right? So I'm pretty darn close right here. And then now all I got to do, drop this in. I'll have to, once I get this thing ground down on the inside, that's going to fit. Something that I noticed is I was going through cutting discs, and the reason for that is I was trying to hold this with one hand and hold the grinder cutter with the other hand, and it would just get kind of yanked, and then next thing you know, now I got a broken disc. So what I did was I welded to the table, and that held it in for me. It was like a third hand holding it in place, and lo and behold, after I did that, I was able to cut all of these with one disc. And then once I got it bent, as you saw, once I got it bent, then I went through with the plasma, cut it out a little bit bigger to fit this, and all of that because I had this welded on. Boy, that was a big help. I wish I'd have thought about that about, I don't know, 3-4 discs ago. Anyway, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing ground down on the inside, and we're going to take it from there. Y'all, it looks like I forgot to show the video of the welding. My bad. Well, anyway, I still got more welding to do, but I welded the perimeter right here. Here's our big oversized pie cuts that we made on accident when we were still trying to figure everything out. So I was going to use these. I don't know, maybe I still will. But I could also just fill it with weld. And I'm going to fill all this up. So I've got all these stripes going this way I got to fill. But also, if you look close, I got some horizontal ones. And anyway, for all these, I'm just going to turn down the heat. Pretend like it's just thinner metal that it is. And just to kind of fill it and make it look good. Then I'm going to grind it all down, make it look pretty. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Make it look pretty. Now, next step is going to be the inside. So if I get some light in here. So, still got to do a little bit of finish work in here. Kind of doesn't really matter, but it does. Because I don't want anything catching the airbag and chafing it and cutting into the airbag. So, I'm going to do a little bit of work in that as well. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. This one's going to need a lot more of that work, because especially right here where I'm going to be filling this in. Anyway, just, it's all it is time. Like I got all the time in the world, right? So anyway, let's get back to it. Whew. All right, guys, I think it's about time to call it quits, but this is where we're at. And of course, it's got little pits in it and stuff like that. None of that matters. You're never going to see this thing. As a matter of fact, I've done more work than I really need to do already. Now all I need to do is just grind this down to make it look like that, and this guy will be done as well. We will be ready to install in the car in the next video. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Okay guys, it's a new day, a new week actually. I've already been hard at work. Where I'm at right now is I've already taken these pieces, I don't know if you want to call them airbag spring cups or whatever, and anyway, I've already kind of rounded out everything on the inside so there's no sharp objects that would cut into the airbag. So now I'm ready to start kind of dropping these in here. You'll see these braces right here are in the way. I was going to cut the whole thing out, but it looks like I only need to cut this out, and I'm going to try to make it as clean a cut as possible so that I'll be able to weld it right back in when I'm done. Well, part of it, because I think once I get, so this is part of the frame portion, right? So once I get the body portion cut up and welded around it, it's actually probably going to take the place of some of this. I don't know how much of it yet. So anyway, I'm just going to cut out this whole piece right here, and we'll see how it kind of lands whenever I'm all done. So let's get it. Okay, so now let's take a look. I've got this bar out of the way, and we can see, by the way, I've got the rear end back in it, as you can see. So you can see this is our frame part, of the circle of the frame that this needs to weld into, okay? But the body, all this, is in the way. It was in the way because these bars were in the way, and I think overall I need to cut this out quite a bit bigger. I'm going to need to be able to fit the welder in, you know, around the outside of it, kind of at least get a couple of tacks in, and I can probably weld the rest of it from underneath when I get that rear end back out of the way. So anyway, I have found that the best way to cut this body is, as you can see, with the plasma cutter. I left it kind of gross looking because I knew I was going to be cutting some more, but anyway, we're going to get to that. This is going to be fun too. This side is fun. This is 2 layers. So we'll just cut the top layer first and the bottom layer, and I don't know what's going to happen back here. I'm probably going to cut it right up to this little bend right here. Just try to get as far out of the way as I can. All right, guys, that was not fun at all. I think my plasma went out in the middle of that. So anyway, I had to do some of it with the cutoff wheel. But anyway, so now you can see it's a lot bigger on the body than it is here, and that ought to give me enough room to at least tack weld on the outside here, maybe 2 or 3 tacks, and then I'll be able to come from underneath and weld the whole perimeter of it. And then at the same time, I'm going to weld my bottom plate, do a couple of tacks on the bottom plate from underneath, so that way that doesn't move, and then we'll be ready to go. Holy crap, man, that was a pain in the butt. Here's the other side. Same thing, I got a fuel line running right there, some kind of line. I think it's a fuel, so you got to be careful around that. This is a brake line, which I'm redoing. I got to redo all the rear brake lines, so that doesn't matter that that got hot. Okay, onward and upward. Okay, so now we can see this guy's gonna sit on here something like this and have the air line coming out on a 90. It's gonna come out this way. We can see we got a nice, let's see, nice little circumference there all the way around to weld to, so I can get a couple of tacks on here. I just need to go underneath and make sure that the bottom plate of the bag is sitting where it needs to. Let's take a look at that right now. There's not a whole lot of stuff I can show underneath the car because there's so limited room, but oh yeah, right there. So let's see if I can get this stuck on here somewhere. All right, so we can see right here, bottom plate is stuck, or is touching the bag mount there, and we are looking good. It's centered all the way around. We got a nice gap around there. The bag doesn't really come back much at all past this, I don't know if you can see this, past this little, the bottom plate here. So we've got plenty of room around it. Got a finger's gap there, so hopefully it won't be dragging any welds or anything, but I'm still gonna, you know, kind of polish it down, with sand it down and polish it a little bit so it doesn't have anything to grab onto. So I think that's it. I'm gonna do a tack here. I think I can get 1 or 2 tacks right in here, and then get a couple of tacks up top. All right, guys, skipped ahead a few steps. Here's what we got. Got our little towers in, one on each side. They are tacked in for now. And what I've got to do now, here, let's hop on the inside. All right, guys, so as you can see, skipped ahead a few steps. I've got my little shock towers, or whatever you want to call these things, tacked in. And this thing, this is my tool that I use to space out for the bag. I've already got it on this side. You can see by the nut on here, but I just wanted to show because it's kind of funny what we got to do to get this thing on. Thank goodness I've got all this cut out for the drive shaft right now. And now you can see I actually have to step in here. Take off the nut and the washer. So still got one washer on there. Come on, buddy. Okay, so now that I've got my spacers on here, let's go underneath the car. Okay, so now we see the bottom bag brackets. And anyway, I'm going to lift this axle up until these brackets meet that, and then I'm going to tack them in. Then I'm going to unbolt the nut that's on the top of this that I just put on, and I'll be able to drop down the axle. Oh, and my brackets will be perfectly in place because I will have them tacked, and then I will be able to final weld all of this stuff. Yo, I'm getting too old for this crap. A lot of this will be a lot nicer if I had a lift, but working on the ground is for the birds, man. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do a lot of this because it's gonna be probably almost impossible to catch on camera. So let me go ahead and get some of this done, and I'll catch you guys back up after just a little bit. All right, y'all, let's get caught up. Here we are. Bag brackets, lower mounts, you can see they're tacked in. There we go, now you can see they're tacked in. And you can look way over there, got the other one tacked in as well. And of course these are the alignment rods and also spacers to help keep the bag spaced out properly. So now you can kind of see what I had going on here if you couldn't already. So now the job is to take this axle back out. We're gonna final weld all this, and then we're gonna paint everything and seal everything up, and hopefully keep it from rusting. I do want to do a couple of things, like I think I might put just a plate right here somewhere, just to keep these sides from like skewing, these ones. But also on the inside here, I'm not gonna be able to show it very well, but on the inside here, I might put a gusset. I don't know, maybe we can see it this way. I might put a gusset right here. Hopefully you can see that. And if I put a gusset there, I don't really need to put this piece back here. But that might be a good idea because I think this plate is kind of offset, it's pushed that way. So it might be a really good idea to go ahead and put a gusset there underneath. So that's it. So for right now, I need to get this axle out and start doing the final welds. And also up here, you can still see the spring pocket through here. I need to come underneath here and weld on the inside there because this also is just tacked in right now. So, and that's it. But I mean, man, this is the hardest part right here. So right here, from here out, it's just, it's easy. It's smooth sailing from here. So let's go ahead and get some of this stuff final welded. I probably won't be able to show the spring pocket being welded just because it's just hard to get a camera under there while I'm working. but I should be able to show the axle stuff. So, all right, let's get to it. All right, y'all, I think this is gonna be it for the day. I am wiped. So I think this is gonna be the end of this video. Pretty much all I have left to get these bags in is to just weld these spring pockets in fully. I'm just calling them spring pockets. They could be air springs, right? So anyway, other than that, you know, here's my brackets here. And I'm just gonna wait for those to cool off, and I'll start grinding. And actually, so I was talking about this before, I might go ahead and put gusset right here. I think I'm gonna need to. Same thing here. I need to put a gusset in there to help support the weight. But anyway, man, that's it, man. I'm really excited. That was the hardest part of this, probably this whole install and the whole car probably was that was the hardest part. I didn't really have a good game plan when I started, so just kind of made it up as I went along. It's kind of one of the reasons why it took so long as well. You know, if I don't have a good game plan, I don't like to just start working and figure it out as I go. I want to have a solid, you know, point A to point B plan. And if I don't have that, sometimes I'll stop and sleep on it. And that 9 times out of 10, that's always a good decision. So. Anyway, man, I'm super excited. I'm very, very tired, but we'll get back to this. I should have some time next week, and I want to keep putting these videos out once a week, but you know, just during the summertime, this is our busy season, so can't always do that. But do what I can when I can, all right? So here we go, top of the spring plates here, or bottom plates, and these are welded on. So I'm gonna, ow, that's really hot. So I'm gonna have to cut those off and drill new holes. So the funny thing is, this one on the passenger side, if you look at the brackets, I'll be able to get a bolt in here, but this bracket lines right up with it. So I'm gonna have to come up with something, I don't know, unique or get a little clever there to try to figure that one out. But that's it, y'all. We will see you on the next one.